What's up, guys? Coming to you with another superhero chat. This time, it was requested that that I give my top five favorite, but I can't really narrow it down like that. So I'm gonna give my top 10, and I brought Lewis along because we want to do a video.
I had a top 10, but because he was doing, I mean, a top 5, but because he's doing top 10, I figured I'd throw in some honorable mentions.
And by top 10, I mean top 10 DC heroes.
Right.
We'll do
Or concepts.
we'll do the villains and
You know the YouTuber's
and Marvel
name that,
later. I think it was like Masked Panther. I'm terrible with names.
we want to shout the guy out for actually
Probably
caring.
Probably should have looked at this before.
I just assumed he knew.
Yeah, Masked Panther. Thanks for the
recommendation.
recommendation. All right, so give your number 10 first.
Number 10. So I was doing 5 because that's what we talked about. Then he changed it on me last second because he really likes his characters. So I'm just going to throw out some concepts. Nuklon, aka Atom Smasher. I love the character from the Infinity Inc. series in the 80s. He's related to the Atom from the Justice Society, not the Justice League. My first introduction to him was in the Millennium miniseries that came out in the 80s. It was a weekly comic series, and they called on him to just lift something heavy. And as a fan of physically strong characters like that, there was just something about him. I thought the Mohawk was stupid, but then when I saw him in the Justice League, they had beefed him up even bigger, and I thought that was just a really cool looking character. And so I've just dug on him for a while. So that's who I'd say there.
All right. So as a preface to mine, in general, I don't like to narrow it down to one character a lot. So sometimes I might just like pick a brand, and it'll be all the heroes in that brand. So, and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right. So my number 10 is Oracle. I love Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, but I like her even better when she becomes Oracle. And she really, I think, really found her own space there, and found her own hero there. And so I was kind of disappointed when she became Batgirl again, only because I feel like she had moved beyond being Batgirl.
Literally out of the shadow of the bat.
Yeah, really, where like other people, like Cassie and Stephanie had been Batgirl. They because they're young, and for both of them, like it took a while to move out as well.
And in some ways, they still aren't out.
Right. I feel like Batgirl or Cassie could still really be Batgirl and be wonderful, because I feel like she is perfect to be stay under.
She totally needs to be in the Bat family because I mean.
She needs a
in
family.
her name Orphan.
But anyways, so Oracle. I don't think she really needs to be Batgirl anymore, and she's really proven herself to be her own hero, and not be relying on other people. So, I really like the character, and I love that she's disabled because of the injury, the Joker in The Killing Joke, which is also a great comic. But
he doesn't love the fact that she's injured. He loves the fact that despite her injury,
she's able to make herself a hero still, and be a valuable character despite her injuries.
All right. So number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The concept is the Legion of Superheroes. I can literally take a list and write out 30 heroes that I think are really awesome in the Legion of Superheroes, and they have more than that. But it's just like this huge ensemble story where they, when they're done well. I'm looking at you, 70s and 80s Legion of Superheroes stuff. I'm looking at you. Even the Mark Waid run was pretty good. Refreshing some of the concepts and that sort of thing. There's a way that you can do it. Like we really enjoyed the Justice League Unlimited cartoon show, where again they have this huge cast of characters that they somehow managed to make you care about, even the ones you're like, why would I care about this character? So that's really, why I like the Legion of Superheroes.
That's really where a lot of my heroes come from.
Right.
Just watching that show.
So yeah, I love the concept of these sort of teenage rebels who are wanting to save the world. DC, we could use more of that. I'm just saying, because a lot of the teenagers in our day and age just want to sit around and complain about everything. Yeah. So.
All right, so my number 9, Supergirl. I love Supergirl.
She was in the Legion of Superheroes.
I'll say that I used to like her better than Superman. Spoiler as to what's coming next on my list. But if it wasn't for Tomasi's run on Superman, she was above him. And I loved the reason I've always liked her better was because she has to live in a world with a Superman, and so I find that a lot more compelling than Superman himself in general.
Trying to live up to that legacy.
Because he's the legacy, and then she has to live up to that legacy, which is why Connor is growing on me. And so, but I haven't
John too, right?
I haven't really read a whole lot from him. Yeah, I like John. I love John too, but he's so new. It's hard for me to really put him in the top 10 at this point.
Oh,
but,
right. I just meant
anyways,
as a character.
But I love Supergirl. Like, she makes a great aunt to John, which is awesome. And and nowadays, like, because she's become her own hero, like, she can show up and help Superman, and that's like how much of a hero she has become. And so I really like that. And she's she has her own city to take care of, and I've enjoyed most of the Supergirl TV show. It's been really cool.
I've seen a couple of clips. I don't have a whole lot of time to watch TV, but it seems like they capture the essence of the character really well.
So
and Superman, I like that Superman they had on there.
But I think it's interesting. She became a Red Lantern in the
I hadn't seen
in the whole
crossover.
Darkest Night, Blackest Night stuff, all that kind of stuff. She became a Red Lantern because of her anger. So I just find it interesting that she's got the essence of Superman, but she's still a very different character. Like,
very much her own.
I really love Supergirl. I have for a long time, and that's why.
Sweet.
It's number 8.
Number 8, Captain Atom. He narrowly missed landing on the list, and he would have been higher on this list, except Jonathan convinced me here to include concepts like the Legion. So there's one concept that will jump above those and push this further down. But Captain Atom, he led the heroes in the Invasion storyline in the late 80s. He was Earth's commander-in-chief for the superhero forces against this awesome alien invasion. He led the Justice League. He almost became a supervillain. And then they had some wacky storylines in the 90s with him, which I didn't mind because in the 90s I was all in. So if it were something I encountered today, apart from my previous understanding, I'd probably hate it. But because it came out when I was like getting into comics and had been loving comics for about 5 or 6 years by that point, I was just like, oh well, I like the characters. I don't really care. And so Captain Atom, I loved the way they displayed him on the Justice League cartoon show. He was sort of the foil for Green Arrow whenever they were teaming up together. And then, of course, he stood toe-to-toe with Superman.
Yeah.
I remember this awesome article in Wizard Magazine, which some of you are too young to know what a Wizard Magazine is, but it was a magazine all about comic books. And I just remembered somebody writing in an article to their little letter page about why Captain Marvel was the most powerful hero. Captain Atom. What did I say? Marvel?
Yeah.
Sorry. So that's a spoiler alert. That's coming up. But no, why Captain Atom is the most powerful DC Comics superhero. And so anyway, off the beaten path kind of character, but I just really dug on the concept of a man out of time with these incredible powers, who could hold his own with Superman without having to be Superman.
What I like about him is that he has like these dual responsibilities and
To the
loyalties.
government and to the superheroes.
And so I think that's played out really well in Justice League Unlimited, where he has to follow his orders as a military man and choose whether he's going to be, loyal to the government or to the Justice League. And I think that's really brings out a lot of interesting storylines. So
yeah.
All right, so my number 8 is Superman. I love Superman now. If you had asked me 2 years ago, Superman wouldn't have made this list.
And it has nothing to do with your movies, DC. Fix those.
Yeah, I do love the original movies, but
those were great. So fix the new ones.
I used to argue, that Superman just has boring. He's boring now because they've done everything they can do with the character, and I'm just like, it's time to move on. And then Gleason and Tomasi came in, and if you haven't read their Rebirth run, it is excellent. And
good reading.
Bendis isn't doing bad. I've been enjoying it. I was dreading it for a long time, but it's been a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And so, but Tomasi is the best. Tomasi and Gleason, their run was so good. Their run really brought the essence of Superman to me. I could really love him having this dual loyalty also, where he's loyal to heroing, but also loyal to being a father and a husband, which I thought was a really interesting part of the character. And it was nice to see somebody that was happy, that was a hero, that was happy in his marriage, happy as a father, and wasn't constantly having problems. It was just a regular guy who goes out and heroes, and he's
so Bendis
Superman.
Fixed that.
So yeah, and I fell in love with the character. He moved way up on my list because of that, and I really like Superman now. And he's Superman, so I don't really have to explain who he is.
You guys know who Superman is.
There's a good reason why you should like Superman.
Right. All right, so number 6, the Titans as a concept. They are my absolute favorite team book of all time. They have awesome characters. I love me some Marv Wolfman. I love comics that he hates, that he wrote. Okay, that's how much of a fan of his I am. I enjoy.
You pointed at me when you said that he hates.
No, I wasn't. Well, I don't know that they can see my finger.
Okay. Well, I was like, I didn't.
No. I'm not saying him. I'm saying Marv Wolfman dislikes some of the stories that he's written, and some of them that he's written that he dislikes. I'm such a big fan. I really appreciate those comics, even if they're not, the Judas Contract or the Trigon Saga in the, New Teen Titans Volume 2. There's I like the Teen Titans, so the original 5 with Wonder Girl, Wally Flash, Nightwing or Robin, Tempest, and Speedy, aka Arsenal, and I love how they grew and changed, and you're gonna hear a lot about Wally in this. I'm just gonna say, because
Okay.
Spoiler alert, he's higher on the list.
My number 7, Captain Marvel. I love Captain Marvel. I think that probably the cartoons is what several different series is what brought me into him. I think he's in Young Justice, isn't he?
Yes, he was on that.
And that was a fun one where he's running around as a kid and going as an adult because he's because the adults get moved to a different dimension or something. Yeah. That was such a fun-ish episode, and what I love about the character is the concept itself, which is that a little kid ends up becoming basically Superman.
Mega powerful.
And so he lives in a world where there's already a Superman, but he can make be his own character. That's a common theme in my likings. Characters who live in the shadow of other characters and then become their own.
Are you excited about the movie?
The movie looks awesome.
That looks so great.
So good.
DC, how have you not been doing this already?
I got the guy from Chuck.
Yeah, he looks great.
Such a funny show.
Yeah, I love most everything about the costume. There was something, but I can't remember what it is that seems off. But otherwise, I think overall that's
I feel like he feels
great
a little smaller.
Which is ironic because I read online that they made him smaller.
Oh, really?
Like, because the guy who played Chuck, beefed up, and then they somehow made him look smaller when he's as Captain Marvel, which is really weird. Just shouldn't have to CGI his muscles down.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna play a lot like the movie Big.
Yes, so that a lot of folks have suggested that it's Big with superpowers.
Yeah, hopefully better. But anyways, I didn't mind Big. Anyways, but I love Captain Marvel because just it's a dream of every kid to be Superman or Batman or one of a superhero, and just to have like a superhero who is a kid who gets to live out that dream, I think is really awesome.
And he's the lead role. He's not playing second fiddle to somebody else. So.
And so I really love that. I call him Captain Marvel because that's his name. Shazam is the.
I don't even know how they're gonna do that because if he says Shazam, he's gonna get hit with the lightning that changes him back. So how can he be like, "Hey y'all, I'm Shazam"? All right, goober.
Yeah, Shazam is the wizard. Right. Captain Marvel is the hero. But yeah, no, I love Captain Marvel. He's so much fun.
I mean, but I read that Jeff Johns was saying going forward they were just going to call the character Shazam, which is fine. But how does he do it? Like, hi, my name is Shazam.
Yeah.
And now I'm Billy Batson again. Whoops.
You know,
cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows who I am.
Anyways, so that's why I love Captain Marvel. He's such a fun character. He's a lot more funny than Superman is.
Goofy.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, my number 6 is Captain Marvel. I don't know how that worked out, but
I want to hear my number 6.
Yeah. Anyway, Captain Marvel. We said it all. Like, I really, I'm looking forward to the movie. I think the expectation is high, but I think it has the potential to be like this breakout hit for DC, which means they'll screw it up after it's awesome because they're like, how come they don't like our Superman? Because Superman doesn't break people's necks. Really that simple. And Batman doesn't have to be, he can be grim and gritty without being grimy. Just my thoughts. So that's really all I'm going to say. I love that he can fight Superman toe-to-toe, and he has the advantage of being magical based, so Superman has a slight weakness. I love the homage to Kingdom Come where they were fighting on the Justice League cartoon. He'd say Shazam, he'd move out of the way, and Superman would get hit with the magic lightning. And he's like, oh, that hurt.
I also like with his villain, like the way to beat Black Adam is to make him say his name. That's such an homage to like ancient mythology,
right, yeah. Where
to beat the villain, you had to say his name or get them to say their name.
Right, like in our society, you get somebody to say uncle or mercy when you got him down, like when you're beating up your brother or your sister or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, say my name or
something like that.
But in the old days, you get them to say their name, which would demonstrate that you are their master or whatever. So.
Yeah, something like that. So. Anyways, all right. So my number 6 is the New Titans, or the Titans. And by New Titans, I mean the New Teen Titans. I don't mind Tempest, but I really love the characters that were in the New Teen Titans in the 80s. So Starfire, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Raven. I love those characters. Wonder Girl. I'm not naming a couple of them because they're on the list higher, but I love those characters. The one thing I love about the Titans is they really act like a family, and so that really, like, when you're reading them, you really feel like you're part of the family, and
even if Sucky Terry Long.
If you
that's a character in there if you folks are unfamiliar.
He's not too bad. I don't know what happens in the end with him, but
he gets whiny and
Jericho. Jericho was a really cool concept. That's New Teen Titans. That's where Dick became Nightwing. One of my favorite issues in comics in general is Who is Donna Troy? It was such a good comic. Such a good comic.
Which I found out, ironically, follows up on Marv Wolfman's original attempt to give Donna an origin story in the original Teen Titans run.
Oh. So,
of course, then Crisis happened and DC made
We've talked about that in our other
superhero
chat. Link at the end. But yeah, so I love the Titans, same reasons he does, and like the fact that they were all like teenagers, kind of appealed to me when I was younger, and so I really, in a sense, kind of grew up watching them grow up. So.
Yeah, it was a seamless transition for those characters to move from teenagers to adults, and Marv Wolfman handled it quite well.
Yeah, now that they're adults and I'm an adult, like young adult, you kind of like.
I'm an old adult.
So, anyways, into the top 5.
All right, so my number 5 is Hawkman. We've talked about Hawkman in other videos, like our continuity one. Basically, big dude, wings. Could hold his own in a fight.
Attitude,
right? He in a lot of ways is like this right winger, politically. So him rubbing up against other characters like Green Arrow is just really interesting to me. Or Captain Atom, like I'm sorry, that was Green Arrow and Captain. Whoops.
Like Green Arrow.
Yeah. And then the mythology stuff, Egyptian mythology, as well as like some Indian stuff in the 90s. But really, just as a kid, when I saw him, I'm like, look, it's a big dude with wings. That's cool.
And a mace.
Yeah, well, you can't leave out the mace.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like the mask, too. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, well, and they've done it differently. Let me just tell you, one of my favorite comic book moments of all time was where he and Captain Marvel, were fighting Batman and Superman in the Public Enemy storyline of the Superman Batman comic. And he's got this glove. It's called the something of Horus. And he's
Horus?
No, not quite. Amulet of Horus? I don't know. Anyway, he's fighting Superman, and he's like, he punches him, and he's like, just so you know, this thing like works off the gravitational pull of the planet. So in other words, I just hit you with Earth, and I just was like, that's cool. I like that.
I feel like with Hawkman, because I really like Hawkman too, even though he's not on my list, and Hawkgirl, I'd probably put them equal. Although I like her attitude better than his. She's just
fierce,
feisty.
Yeah.
I feel like those are two characters you don't want to meet in a back alley.
Yeah. Honestly, I
maybe
think
more than anybody else in DC.
Yeah.
Hero wise.
If DC did it well, they could make him their Thor character from the Avengers and those movies.
Take Cyborg off the Justice League and put
Hawkman
or
Hawkgirl.
Either
we'll take
one.
her.
Either one.
Because she's really interesting too.
Yeah.
She has a background history with suicide.
There's a good female Thor right there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Hawkman, I dig the concept. I dig the character.
All right. So my number 5, Wally West. I really didn't know much about the character until I started hanging around this dude, and this guy loves him some Wally West so much.
Spoiler alert, he's on my list.
That I fell in love with the character, and then reading the New Teen Titans has been excellent, and I've just loved any. I've learned about the story of Wally, like what he's gone through, how he gets his powers, what he does with his powers, what he's done throughout his time throughout history, and I fell in love with the character. I love that he's kind of a chill character, very calm, and
when he's not being hyperactive.
And so I love that about him. Like he's not super worried all the time. He just kind of takes things much more lighthearted than Barry does, and I like that. Plus, his new costume is amazing.
I love it. Thank you,
new costume is amazing.
DC. That does a really good job separating him from Barry.
I love the orange hair.
Still, it's not orange. He's redheaded. It just comes across.
He's a redhead. He's a carrot top.
That's like saying Psylocke has purple hair.
Anyways.
Psylocke from the X-Men.
That was one thing I didn't like when they created Wally West too. Is I was like, but he's not a carrot top. Like,
Right.
Where's the red hair? Like that's classic Wally. And then they fixed that, so that's good. But I love it, and I think it's really cool. I wish I could run as fast as he does.
Yeah, make life a lot easier.
And the fact that he's the fastest person in the DC universe is pretty awesome. So I think he's a great character. I'm gonna leave it there because Lewis is gonna talk more about him. But that's my number 5.
Number 4 for me then is Aquaman, and when I say Aquaman, I like Aquaman. So I dig orange shirt, green pants. Talks to fish, Aquaman, because it's more than just talks to fish. He's like, I love what Peter David did with him in the 90s. So Peter David is to Aquaman what Mark Waid is to Flash. He made me care so much about this character.
Is that the dark one?
And that's the one with the hook hand and the long beard. He's got like the half metal shirt on and the gray and green pants. Just Conan Underwater is a lot of how they were describing it back then. He just had this screw you attitude. I'm the king of Atlantis, and you're going to treat me like the king of Atlantis. And there was this excellent issue, I think it was number 3 of that series, where he fought Superboy. And he just, he kicked the crap out of him. It was so great. And then there was an issue where he fought the Justice League single-handedly. I think it was number 16. It's one of my favorite comics of all time. On the cover, it's him and Wonder Woman fighting, but he systematically takes down the Justice League by himself. It's Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Guy Gardner, Obsidian, Ice, and somebody else. So, I mean, you got a couple of heavy hitters with Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter, but where he's fighting Guy Gardner's not Green Lantern at this point. Okay. But he's fighting Guy, and he's like, Aquaman says this to Guy. He's like, I've started enough leagues to know that you're out of yours. And for a water-based character, that is the sickest burn. He caught Martian Manhunter on fire earlier in their exchange. Yeah. So Martian Manhunter was over on the side burning, but Guy Gardner got burnt worse. But that was just such a classic moment. I'm like, wow, that's good. And physically, I've always held that I think Aquaman, for a while, not indefinitely, can hold his own against somebody like Superman. And I got proof of this. I got proof of this in the Young Justice cartoon where Aqualad goes up against Superboy, in the first episode. And I'm like, this is what I want. I mean, if you show people that Aquaman can hang with Superman in a fist fight, again, not indefinitely, but for some extended amount of time, because he's used to the rigors of the pressure of the ocean. And if that's the case, then he's much more physically resilient than a lot of writers give him credit for.
And then you add the trident, and man, he could wipe the whole Justice League out.
Well, yeah, so there's the trident. I still dig the hook hand. I was even cool with the water hand that had like magical properties and junk, and linked him to like the Arthurian legends, which ultimately Atlantis is connected to the Arthurian legends. So I'm glad that they played that up some, but I hate that they ran Peter David off the book. It was selling well. He had great stuff in store, but they switched him out for somebody else, and things just kind of went downhill from there. But it did lead to this pretty decent Justice League story where Nightwing got to lead the Justice League. I'll have to tell him about that off camera. But the Obsidian Age 1 and 2. Read it if you're interested.
Yeah. Call me silly, but I like the Aquaman from Batman Brave and the Bold TV show. He's so like braggadocious and just like hilarious character.
That whole series is pretty great.
Like he's still got like all the strength and craziness of Aquaman, but he's just like very chummy and very like, I'm really awesome. Oh, did I tell you this story about how I took this guy single-handed? I'm like, I love it. It's so funny. I like that Aquaman.
I need to go back and finish watching that series. I've only seen a few episodes.
He's so funny. And then Batman just rolls his eyes every time he starts talking. It's like, Anyways, all right. So my number 4, Booster Gold. I love Booster Gold. I met him first time on Justice League cartoon,
Oh, that was such a
the
great
Unlimited,
episode.
and he is so funny. He's so funny. Um, I love humorous characters. I love the characters that are making jokes the entire time. And like Spider Man, I love Spider Man because he's just sitting around joking, making jokes the entire time. Um, of course, Booster's doing it in a different way. He's so his jokes are more. I don't know that he thinks they're always funny. Sometimes he does, but other times he's actually being serious, and that's what's funny.
He has no idea how awesome a character Booster Gold is because he's not read any of the Justice League International stuff that DeMatteis and Giffen did in the 80s and
but
90s. But I'm going to hook him on that, and he's going to go crazy.
But my favorite part of the character is that he starts off more of a sleazy guy who is really just trying to make his own name rather than actually do anything good.
And
then,
he's much like that in the comics, but it's funny because he and
right.
Blue Beetle are playing off each other.
But eventually, like he realizes, and you see this really good in the Justice League Unlimited show. Oh, like I can actually just be a hero, and
Right.
And that's more like helping other people and doing the right thing is a lot better than actually making a name for yourself.
Even when he gets mistaken for Green Lantern.
And I love that he's always like the most popular. He's like, but I'm the most popular superhero in the world, or something like that. It's funny. Right. I love Booster
because he's the only one who worries about his media presence.
They've tried that with some of the newer characters, like the younger ones that are teenagers, and I don't think it's really worked as well. But Booster Gold does it really well. I think Gar does it as Beast Boy pretty well.
Well, I guess he would care.
And I think he's pretty funny at that. But I think I think more that Booster Gold is the best one at that.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
number 3, Superman. We've said a lot already. He has so much power, and let's be honest, wouldn't you like to have that? The ability to fly, to push, buildings over, or lift a car out of your way, or, save people like that? I would. I mean, he's just the essence of what it means to be a superhero. And I think that's why writers have such a hard time.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we don't know what to do with Superman. Stop acting like he's untouchable and touch him in a way that touches us. You want to know what that looks like? Go back and watch the Christopher Reeve movie.
Yeah.
The first one is there's literally like 2 things that I wish they had done. Showed him learning to fly in the course of his Jor-El education stuff they do in the Fortress. But like that's one thing. I'm trying to think what the other thing is, but because I thought that was like the best thing about the new Man of Steel movie is showing him figuring out how to fly, and how much fun he had figuring that out. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, okay, so it's not like they're totally tone deaf to what makes Superman great, but in a lot of other ways they are. Yeah. So anyway, just an excellent character, the standard bearer for comics. If you ask, again, people on the street who's the best comic book character or who's the most famous comic book character, without question. So I'm not going to say a whole lot more than that because we're trying to cut it short. Yeah. We're already going to run long.
I like the I'm always like, we need to do this in this amount of time. This was going to be like a 10-minute, 20-minute video, and it's already this long. Thanks for staying with us, though.
Hang in there. We'll wrap it up shortly.
I like how Clark acts like a very clumsy and pretends to be less impressive than he really is. I love that part of the character.
He really does capture what it means to have a secret identity, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like there are so many other characters. Like Batman could totally not be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And people would notice Bruce Wayne's missing, but Batman wouldn't think twice about it if it weren't useful for him.
Yeah, but honestly, like, you know, even if people knew who Bruce Wayne was, I don't think like Batman would really have that many problems. But
Right.
Superman being Superman, like his obvious weakness is people.
Right.
And
we were talking
Batman
about that
doesn't have
earlier.
any people except for Alfred.
Or other people who are so well trained that if Batman's not around,
they could take care of themselves. So, and that's what he does. Like all of the people that are close to him, he trains them, so he doesn't have to worry about them, and so that they don't become like him. But,
and Alfred would be okay if he weren't so old.
Yeah.
Because he's got military training too.
But also, like Bruce Wayne has the mansion and the cave, so I'm sure that they're well protected.
Right.
Anyways, all right, we're not talking about Batman. All right, my number 3 is the Green Lantern. I love the Green Lantern. Hal Jordan has probably been my favorite Green Lantern hero. He was the first hero that I liked the most. I remember having a little Batman action figure that was really my intro to the comic book world back in the day. But as far back as I can remember, the first hero that I loved was Green Lantern, and that was Hal Jordan. And I just love the ability to fly. I love that he can use his imagination and willpower to fight bad guys. And so Hal Jordan is my favorite Green Lantern, but I like all of them. So, and I'd probably order them with Hal, Kyle, John, Guy, Kilowog, Simon, and Jessica tied at the end.
Alan Scott?
I like Alan Scott. He'd probably be at the bottom, though.
Yeah, right.
Because he's not used much.
Right.
So.
Get on the DC.
Yeah, you should use him. Anyway, but I love Green Lantern. I love that they have the most powerful weapon in the universe.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
And I love that they're all like unqualified until they become better versions of themselves.
Right. There's training
so
involved.
When they get the ring, they're like, of course, like how am I qualified to do this? And but the ring knows that they're qualified.
The Guardians.
And it's you know, I don't want to go too far on a trail, but sort of like as a Christian, you know, I feel unqualified a lot of times in like the Christian life, but God chose me anyways. And so similarly, I can identify with the Green Lanterns in that like they're chosen by these rings, and they're like, how am I worth of anything? And but they're, you know, able to do some really awesome things. I really love the Green Lanterns. And if you ask Brandon at the comic book store, I'm probably one of his biggest Green Lantern guys. So.
Which is really disappointing that you're only going down to one book a month, DC. I mean, I know it's Grant Morrison and all that, but.
Yeah.
Well,
but the 2 series going on now are excellent.
Yeah.
But anyways, number 2.
Hold on. I just love the concept of Green Lanterns too, because you know anybody could get the ring, and as long as they have the willpower and that sort of thing, theoretically they can use it. So, like he said, you know, the Guardians and the ring pick someone who would otherwise appear to be unqualified and qualifies them. I just think that's a really cool concept.
As a side note, I'm actually would consider myself a Blue Lantern because I align more with Hope than Will. That's just my personality, and I love Saint Walker, but they haven't really used him enough for me to put him on the top 10.
And my personality is there's Green Lanterns and there's Sinestro with the yellow ring, and none of the other spectrum exists. That's my personality.
He's lame.
Personality. Anyway, number 2.
That's why you didn't want Lark Freeze.
That's right. Martian Manhunter. He's got everything I love about Superman. So much of what I love about Batman with the detective stuff. And he's off the beaten path. So, you know, growing up, you have friends and cousins and stuff that basically tell you, oh, we got to play heroes, right? So if you're not stuck being, you know, if you don't get to pick first, you know, you get stuck with somebody, you're like, well, I will never be as fast as the Flash, so it would be stupid for me to call that. And obviously everybody wants to be Superman and Batman, so I'm just going to take the dude who's the Swiss Army knife of superheroes, and I'm be like, screw all y'all, I got more power.
Yeah. I feel like he's so underused.
Yeah, because so often writers have no idea what to do with them because they're like, so the problems that exist for Superman being so powerful get even more exacerbated by the fact that Martian Manhunter has all this power, but he's so alien too. And I really dig on that. I like him because he's the heart and soul of the Justice League.
Yeah.
He's been there for so many of the incarnations. I mean, the continuity I go with, he's been in every one. In reality, he hasn't been there for everyone, but he usually takes this mentor role that I just really dig. So
Yeah, I like Martian Manhunter too. But my number 2 is Green Arrow. I love Oliver Queen. And that's why I've criticized the Arrow TV show so much, because I love Oliver Queen. Again, like I said, I love characters that are sarcastic and funny and lighthearted, because I'm very much sarcastic. I like to think I'm funny and lighthearted. I don't always take things immediately serious. Even though I'm taking it serious, I just deal with it differently.
right.
And so I love that he also has that. Now, I probably disagree with him politically a lot, but I love his interactions with some of the other characters, like Hal Jordan, Hawkman, Captain Atom. I love when he clashes with them, and just to see like how they're fighting fiercely, but at the same time they're brothers.
In arms.
And they just, I don't really care for what they've done with him in Rebirth. I really enjoyed it at the beginning, but it slowly wore off on me. But before that, like I've loved the character. I think he's a better version of Batman because he lives in a world with Batman
where he can take the mask off and be himself.
Right, and he's really Oliver Queen. He just wears the green arrow to do the things he knows he needs to do. But he also uses his wealth and his power as the head of Queen Industries to do things, which is similar. Why I like Danny Rand. The two aren't too different in a sense, even though their personalities are very different. Yeah. And I love the bow and arrows. I love the green. Kind of reminds me of Robin Hood.
Robin Hood, dude. Yeah, that's totally right.
And I love the Mike Grell run in the 80s. It's amazing. I've been collecting it. So if you haven't seen some of those videos, I'll try to link that. But I love Green Arrow. I've loved him for a long time. He's one of the early heroes that I like too. So
early member of the Justice League.
There you go.
He was the original funder of the Justice League.
Yeah. What I like about him in the Justice League, because he was in the cartoon too, is that he's kind of the outsider who calls out the Justice League.
Yeah, he's their check and balance.
He's not afraid to say, "Hey, you messed up. Like, you need to stop." And he's usually one of the first ones to say, "Hey, no, we need to stop. Like, this is wrong." And so he's got a bigger conscience, or more outspoken conscience. And what I also love is Black Canary, when those two get together, and those two are so funny together.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love their bickering and fighting, but they fiercely love each other. As much as they fight each other, they fiercely love each other and are willing to fight for each other, and I love it. So.
Yeah. Number 1, to no one's surprise, if you've watched any of our videos ever, because I'm pretty sure in every one I've name dropped this character at least once, Wally West, the Flash. When I say the Flash, I mean Wally West is the Flash. Thank you for your service, Barry Allen. You're no longer needed. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding mostly. Yeah, like our first video together was about why Wally West is such an awesome character. So I'm really not going to spend too much time here. He has surpassed all the others. Mark Waid, you have my respect for your run on The Flash, because it is unquestioned probably my favorite comic books of all time. I don't really know what else to say other than he's got all this power, but it's different than Barry. So like he still can't vibrate through stuff without it exploding, whereas Barry would just easily do it. He's always had that ability.
Yeah.
But he leaves Barry in the dust. Whereas Barry would get sucked into the Speed Force, Wally's like, I'm gonna hop in and come back out, y'all. Kind of like I get in the shower, and I just there's just so much, I guess because I grew up with him, literally, like he was a teenager when I started reading comics, and he progressively became an adult. He made bad choices and paid for those choices. He made good choices and he benefited from that. And he fell in love with the woman of his dreams. And realistically, don't we all want to fall in love with the person of our dreams? If you're, a girl, a guy, girl. The person of your dreams. I don't mean anything disrespectful by that. I just mean like we all want to find true love, right? And Wally has found that in Linda, and I hope they're moving toward that in the comics, because I think that's one of those relationships like Superman and Lois, Clark and Lois that work really well, and they deserve happiness. So, as characters.
Yeah, I really like that thing. It's nice to see that some heroes can be happy and be in comics.
Don't kill Alicia. The Thing needs her.
All right, my favorite is Robin. I love Robin. And to be specific, I like Dick Grayson and Tim Drake. They're tied for number one. I like Jason Todd, but I wouldn't put him in the top 10. And I tolerate Damian. I'm liking him
off on him there too.
I like him a little bit more. Well, I've done that before. I like him better since Tomasi's run with Super Sons. John has really made him a better character, better person. But he's not there yet. So, but I love Dick and Tim. They're tied for my favorite. Robin, I think, for a long time has been my favorite character. I love that they live in the shadow of Batman, and then slowly become the two have become their own heroes, and if anything, like better versions of Batman. And that like Dick Grayson has really become like he's the best he's the best acrobat in the DC universe, and he's probably one of the best fighters in the DC universe.
And like my friend Jonathan, he's the most eligible bachelor available. I'm just kidding. He's in a relationship.
And so I love that about Dick, and he ended up becoming Batman, and so like I love the legacy of him being raised under Batman, and then eventually becomes Batman and has his own Robin, which I loved, and I hated that they got rid of that, just to bring Bruce back.
Right.
But he's also a lot more relaxed than Batman is, and he cares about people, and I love that about him, like in the Titans.
he picked Damian to be his Robin, and I don't know why he would do that.
Yeah. Because he cares to make sure that he doesn't become Ross.
Right.
And so he cares about people he doesn't really care for. He doesn't really like. And so he has like a big brother kind of feel, which I'm a big brother, and so I kind of like that aspect. Like he's got basically 3 little brothers, and then everybody else in the Bat family is pretty much his younger sibling.
Well, he does it even with other characters in the DC universe.
Right.
Like in the Titans.
In the Titans, he's a big brother to all of them.
Right.
Except maybe Wonder Girl.
Right,
they're more like real close.
Twinsies.
There you go. Best friends with Wally and Arsenal, which I love both of those.
Corey.
And loving Corey. I love his relationship with Corey. Probably my favorite relationship. And by probably I mean it is. I love the Titans or the Nightwing. What is that series I was about to give you?
Oh,
there's a
New Order.
Nightwing New Order, where you have in the future they're married, and it's really awesome, and they have a kid. It's great.
Nice.
Anyways, so spoiler. I always said that after. And then Tim Drake, I love Tim Drake because he's not as skilled a fighter, although he does a bow staff, which bow staff's my favorite weapon in like martial arts. And so,
we love you, Donatello.
Right, I love Donatello, and but Tim Drake, he's not the best fighter, but he carries this bow staff to kind of level himself with everybody. He's really the perfect Robin, I think, because he would never have had, if he hadn't been forced out of the role, he never would have had to leave the role of Robin because he didn't mind being Robin.
Right, he showed up because he recognized Batman needed a Robin.
I like his new Red Robin suit. It's kind of more of a classic Robin suit. Costume, and so that's really awesome. But I love him also because like he's the greatest detective. Like you see him in the future, and he's really has become better than Bruce at detective work, and I really like that. He's a real thinker. He spends more time thinking and planning than he does fighting, which is perfect. I feel like you need to do that with Batman more. Have him more of being the detective and thinking more than just running around beating people.
Yeah. So you got this new series coming out, Heroes in Crisis. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
DC, play up the mystery aspect and have the detectives of the DC universe really working on it, like Martian Manhunter, Elongated Man. If he's not dead, I don't know what they're doing with him. Tim and Batman, have them all working on it.
Barry.
Yes, Barry, who will be working on it.
We need more Barry and Bruce and what's his name, man? Ralph. We need more of them together because, like, they could do like a crime drama series with the three of them.
Yeah, we'd read it or watch it.
I would totally read that. But anyways, so that's our top 10. Thanks for requesting that, Masked Panther.
Thanks for sticking with us, man.
If you've watched this whole thing, awesome. Thank you. You're awesome.
You're our heroes.
That's right. So that's our top 10 DC. We'll do some villains and some Marvel later.
There'll be a box here to click on some things. Covering my monstrous form.
Hope you like that. Let us know what you think. Who are your top 10 DC heroes? And we will catch you next time. Peace.